Hello and welcome back to another week of the Red Zone. I guess we had a skip week last week, but we're back and full of energy for another week of high school football. Let's look back. I wasn't in town last week, so I didn't follow the games as closely as I normally would. But I know that Westside, Mary Persons had a good game, and Mary Persons came out with a 16-13 win, which is a huge step forward to them winning a regional championship.
Yeah, they're still undefeated. Westside put on a good show, and Mary Persons jumped out to a good-sized lead, and Westside came back and made it interesting there at the end. Mary Persons holds on, wins the game, and that's really all you're asking for at this point. I mean, you'd like to blow everybody out, but that's not realistic. It's not going to happen every week. Nice win for Mary Persons now. They're 3-0 in the region. Veterans is 3-0 as well, so both of those teams look like they're in pretty good position to be in the playoffs. Now the next goal is to win a region championship, and I think we thought at the start of the season that Mary Persons would be in real good shape to do that, at least be in the hunt, and they've gotten off to a really good start and are right there in position to do some special things this season.
Well, I think you have to win the games that you're supposed to win, and then you've got to win the games against the heavy hitters. And so far, Veterans and Mary Persons have both done that.
Yeah.
Baldwin is a team that hasn't.
Right.
They've got some good wins. They beat Rutland the other night, which was a good win, but they lost to Perry a few weeks ago, which was not a good loss based on what Perry's done up to that point. Now, Perry may play better football the rest of the year, but up to that point, that wasn't a great loss for Baldwin.
Right.
And Perry doesn't figure to fit into the region playoff or the playoff scenario.
Yeah, Perry though has played. Perry got another win Friday night. They've won 2 straight. Eric Soliday's team, I know they struggled early, but they have bounced back with 2 straight wins. So maybe they're kind of finding their way a little bit. But I don't think at the start of the season we thought they would be in the mix. But we'll see the next few weeks. And that region's off this week.
They still have the heavy hitters.
They certainly do.
I mean,
yes.
they lost to Mary Persons, I believe.
Right.
They've still got Westside. They've got Veterans late in the season.
Right. They still have to play Rutland as well.
Those are all tough games. But, we thought this whole region may be a little confusing to figure out, and it looks like it's going to go down to the last few weeks of the season before we figure out who those final 2 spots. Because right now, like you said, Mary Persons Veterans are both looking really pretty. Moving on to the Region 1 5A action. Good start for the local teams 2 weeks ago with Houston County and Warner Robins and Northside Jones all opening with wins.
Right.
Last week it was a little different with the local schools mixing up with one another, but they're back this week to having to win those games that they need to win for the playoff spots. And you've got to go to Columbia County, and you've got to win those games if you're going to be one of those playoff teams.
Yeah, I talked to Dwight Jones about it. They lost to Warner Robins last year. He said, Daniel, we're in the same position we were last year. We lost to Warner Robins, but then we won the rest of these games other than Northside. And he told the kids, we're not going to lie to you. This is a big-time game this week. If you want to be a playoff team, you need to win this game. And they did that last year and finished 3rd in the region. And I think it really looks like that could play out again this season. And maybe Houston County, though, could get in the mix a little bit. They lost to Northside last week. Tough loss for them. I don't think anybody really expected them to win that game, but now they have to play over there this week. Jones County's at home, but Houston County has to go over there and play, and they need to win that game
against probably the best team on the other side.
Right.
I would think that Lakeside and Evans are probably the 2 best.
Right.
And Lakeside has a lot of weapons offensively. They threw the ball and actually passed for 300 yards against Northside. So Houston County's going to have to play their best game. But if they could beat Lakeside, they're going to be in good shape.
Right.
The last game, the big game for them, I don't think they're going to have any problems. They obviously didn't a few weeks ago. I think they're going to be able to sweep the other side, and then it's going to come down to that Jones County game maybe for playoff positioning, who gets the 3 and 4 seed. But none of that matters if they don't beat Lakeside Evans on Friday night. Now, 2 of the teams that we don't necessarily talk about a ton because they're not right nearby, but have certainly made an impact thus far on the season, Washington County and Lamar County. Lamar County is undefeated. I think everyone thought they would be really good. They've got the twins, the Austin twins, and Quay Searcy. Franklin Stevens is one of the best coaches in the state of Georgia, and they've done nothing to disappoint. They've gone out and won their first 6, I guess, and they've won them all pretty convincingly. I don't think Bleckley's going to be the last team probably to give them a tough test in the regular season, if even a test.
Right.
They're now the number one ranked team in the school's history. Made the first number 1 ranking this week in the poll. I wonder what their ceiling is. I don't know if there is one.
I don't know if there's one either. I mean, how many schools their size do you really see have 3 Division I players outside of the metro Atlanta area. I mean, really, when you have that many Division I players, it's usually a bigger school or it's a metro school, more metro Atlanta school. It's not typically a county with one school in it.
Right.
And they've got a lot of talent, and you got that much talent, and him as their head coach. I think that says a lot about their chances. They could be playing in the Dome in December, playing for a state championship, and I think they're going to be really good. And Washington County, what a big win.
Well, hold on. Let me get to that in a second. Well, you're jumping ahead. I haven't talked about them yet. In AA, if you look at public and private, the 2 best public schools that are just pure public schools are Lamar and Brooks, I think. Then you've got Lovett, and you've got Greater Atlanta Christian. And then you've got Calhoun, which is a city school that draws students a little bit differently than public schools do. And then you've got a school like Benedictine, which is a military school.
Right.
So if you look at just pure public schools, that single county schools, Lamar County is probably the best in AA. But they're going to have some tough matchups as the season goes on. I mean, Greater Atlanta Christian is a solid team. I think Lovett has showed by beating St. Pius pretty handily and having a great game the other night against Washington County that they're going to be in the mix. And Calhoun, you can't really count out a team that's been in the championship game for 4 straight years. So I think Lamar County is headed in that direction of being a team that's there in the last 2 weekends of the season. But to take that next step, they're going to have to go through one of these really, really, really solid teams.
But you wouldn't doubt they would do it with
absolutely
that talent
not.
and with
Right.
with that coach.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're still a school that has 50 kids or 45 kids, and maybe 25 or 26 are playing. I mean, those guys, all those kids that we're talking about are playing both ways.
Right.
Lovett doesn't have that. Greater Atlanta Christian doesn't have that. Calhoun doesn't have that. When you can 2 platoon and you've got, when you don't have to worry about everyone playing both sides of the ball and getting tired, that's a big difference.
It is a big advantage. Yes,
and the coaching advantages that we know that a lot of the private schools have with having staffs of 12 and 13 coaches is a lot different than having to work with what a county budget gives you for a coaching staff. Now, we're talking about private schools. We mentioned Lovett, a huge win by Washington County going up there, beating Lovett in overtime. They turned the ball over 5 times, trailed by 12 in the final 7 minutes, and pulled out that win. That's a game that a lot of times, if you can win a game like that, making all those mistakes, that's a huge confidence boost. And now if you look at their resume, they've got a blowout win over Baldwin. They had the game against Eagles Landing Christian to start the season that they were winning. That was going to be very competitive, I imagine.
Right.
They've now blown out Laney. They've blown out ECI. They beat Lovett in overtime. You're talking about a team that is probably the best Washington County team that we've seen since, I don't know, maybe the early 2004 maybe?
Since you've been here.
Since Rick
I've
Tomberlin
been
was
here,
the head
for
coach.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I came here in 2006, and we keep waiting for Washington County to be the old Washington County. It looks like they are this year. You and I both think very highly of Joel Ingram and his staff and the job they do over there. That was an impressive win to me. I know Lovett, smaller classification school, but
it doesn't matter.
No,
they beat St. Pius, and St. Pius was the number 2 ranked team in AAA.
Right. So I think this Washington County team, their region is not the toughest in the world, so they can do damage in that region. And then once they get into the playoffs, they should be rested up and be ready to go and make a deep run into the playoffs.
You know, the crazy thing about a lot of these regions or how everything's set up is that you play your non-region games to get ready for region, and then once region comes, that's really your, appetizer for the playoffs. You want to get playing your best ball. All of Waco's toughest games have already happened. Now they've got a huge one this week against an undefeated Jefferson County team, and that's where I'll be headed to Sandersville on Friday night. But outside of that, Thompson is way down. Right. Dodge County may give them some problems. Swainsboro it doesn't look to be a very good team. So they've already had their toughest games, I think. After Jefferson County on Friday night, they will have played their 3 or 4 toughest games already. So you got to find a way to get that motivation through those last 4 to enter the playoffs,
and not get lackadaisical as you're getting into the playoffs, and not relax, because if things come easy in these region games, and you think, oh well, maybe they're going to be easy like this in the playoffs. Well, no, the competition is going to definitely rise to the occasion in the playoffs, and they'll have to play up to that once postseason begins.
And there's a big bad wolf in AAA named Buford.
That's right.
That absolutely destroyed Gainesville, the defending state champions in Class 5A, early in the season. So no matter how much work you put in, I don't think there's a team in AAA or even AA or Single A that would be favored to beat Buford. So you got to keep getting better if you're really going to threaten the Wolves.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that Buford team, I watched that Gainesville game, and it looked like Gainesville had one really good player who might have played for Buford, and then it looked like he didn't have a whole lot of help, and the guys that didn't belong on the same field with Buford. And it played out that way as Buford really blew them off the field.
Well, that's it for this week. Come back next week and we'll talk about the Washington County, Jefferson County game and some of the other local games that happen. And we'll look forward to even a bigger week next week, I think, on the schedule. That's it for this week's edition of the Red Zone.